Welcome to Black Justice, a channel dedicated to standing against racism, exposing injustice, and amplifying voices that deserve to be heard. Here, we share powerful stories, real experiences, and discussions that inspire unity, awareness, and change. Racism has no borders, so we'd love to hear from you. What is the situation in your country? How do you see justice being served, or denied, where you live? Let's build a community that listens, learns, and acts. Raised fist medium dark skin tone. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so together we can spread awareness and fight for equality. Chapter 1, The Driveway Ambush. On a still Texas morning, Agent Reginald Carter walked out to place his trash by the curb, until three figures stopped him cold. Two men in mismatched tactical vests stood beside HOA President Linda Whitfield. Their gear looked official enough to fool a bystander, but to Carter's trained eye it screamed counterfeit. When the taller one declared, "Community enforcement, you're under neighborhood detention," Reginald almost laughed. He played along just long enough to measure them, their stances, nervous eyes, Velcro straps flapping. Calmly he replied, "Detain me? For taking out garbage?" Linda's jaw tightened. She rattled off fabricated charges about driveway modifications and loud gatherings. Reginald saw where this was heading. The taller imposter tried to sound authoritative, "Come peacefully or it'll get harder." Neighbors began peeking through curtains. Reginald warned quietly, "There's no such thing as community enforcement. You're trespassing." But Linda, desperate to assert control, hissed back, "We have authority. People like you don't get to ignore rules." Reginald caught the venom behind her phrasing. "People like you." He smiled thinly. "Careful, Linda. That sounds personal." What none of them knew was that the calm man before them had spent 15 years dismantling real criminal rings. And now, standing on his own driveway, he recognized the same psychology, fear disguised as order. Chapter 2, Neighbors Behind Glass. Phones began rising behind curtains. A teenage neighbor, Marcus Johnson, started live streaming. The imposters didn't realize they were on stage. "Sir, you're non-compliant. We have the right to escalate," the tall one threatened. "Escalate?" Reginald's voice stayed even. "You've got no badge and no authority. You've got 30 seconds to leave." Linda snapped, "You think threats help? We keep this neighborhood respectable." Respect, Reginald thought, wasn't enforced with knockoff gear. He noticed the taller man's eyes flick down the street, hoping for imaginary backup. The bearded partner, Sean, looked uneasy. Across the way, Mrs. Henderson whispered, "Never seen anything like this." When the tall imposter barked at Marcus to stop filming, Reginald instantly stepped between them. "Touch that kid and this ends badly," he said, steel under every syllable. The neighborhood murmured, "Harassment, not legal," their voices turning the tide. Linda's facade began to crack as her audience stopped believing her. Reginald let silence work its pressure. "Hear that?" he told her softly. "That's your authority evaporating." Every second of restraint was strategy. The veteran agent wasn't just protecting himself, he was teaching a masterclass in calm power under provocation. Chapter 3, Fake Badges and Real Consequences. Under mounting stairs, the taller man, Eddie, snapped. He yanked a pair of metal cuffs from his vest. Clank. The sound froze the block. "You're under neighborhood arrest," he declared, voice cracking. Reginald didn't blink. "Take one step closer and you'll add felony impersonation and unlawful restraint to your charges." Sean whispered, "Eddie, don't." But Linda shouted, "Do it. Show him who's in charge." The crowd gasped. Neighbors yelled back, "Enough, Linda." Reginald's tone lowered to a razor edge. "Son, I've dealt with cartel enforcers smarter than you. Drop them." Sweat pooled on Eddie's temples. Pride warred with fear. "Maybe he's right," Sean muttered. "We can't cuff him." Linda's orders turned shrill. "You don't belong here," she screamed. The words exposed what this had been about all along, prejudice and control. Reginald stood unshaken. Respect isn't forced with threats, it's earned. Sean's courage collapsed, he backed away. Eddie's cuffs rattled uselessly at his side as the neighborhood judged them with silent disgust. The illusion of power had officially cracked. Chapter 4, The Turn of the Cuffs. Reginald moved closer, voice measured. Impersonating a federal officer, minimum 3 years. Add assault and conspiracy, you're done. Sean ripped the community enforcement patch off his vest and dropped it. "I'm out." Linda's shriek cut through the heat. "Pick it up. Don't let him win." Eddie stood trembling. Reginald pressed the final truth, "Linda won't stand beside you in court. You'll be the one wearing real cuffs." Eddie's hand opened, the cuffs clattered to the ground. The crowd exhaled. But humiliation ignited one last spark of ego. With a sudden shove, Eddie lunged. In one fluid motion, Reginald stepped aside, twisted the man's wrist, and, click, locked those same cuffs on him. 3 seconds. No violence, just precision. Linda screamed, "You can't arrest him." "Reginald, I didn't. I detained him for assault and impersonation until real officers arrive." Phones captured every frame. The quiet street had turned into a living courtroom, and the verdict was already clear. Truth had taken control. Chapter 5, The Badge in the Sunlight. Sean froze, Linda demanded answers. Reginald kept Eddie pinned with minimal pressure, then reached into his pocket and revealed the truth, a worn FBI badge gleaming gold. "I'm Special Agent Reginald Carter, Federal Bureau of Investigation." Silence consumed the block. Neighbors gasped. Marcus whispered, "No way, FBI." Linda stammered, "You can't, this is abuse of power." Reginald's voice sliced cleanly. "Abuse of power is staging a fake arrest over HOA rules. What I'm doing is lawful. What you did is criminal." The murmurs became open condemnation. Reginald lifted the confiscated cuffs. This is what happens when people mistake fear for respect. Linda's authority evaporated in daylight. The once fearsome HOA president now stood trembling while the entire street learned what real authority looked like, quiet, lawful, unshakable. Chapter 6, The Sirens and the Fall. Sirens wailed nearer, red and blue strobes painting brick and lawn. Officers arrived, weapons low but ready. Hands visible. Reginald raised one hand. Special Agent Carter, badge in pocket, suspect detained for impersonation and assault. Verification took seconds. The senior officer exhaled relief. "You handled this by the book." As Eddie was led to a patrol car, Linda erupted, "He's the criminal. You have to believe me." But witnesses shouted her down, "We saw everything, and it's all on camera." Another officer warned, "Ma'am, keep interfering and you'll face obstruction." When the cuffs finally clicked on Linda Whitfield herself, murmurs rippled, "About time." Reginald simply stood in the flashing light, calm, composed, proving that the truest victory needs no celebration. Chapter 7, The Aftermath. By Monday, every local station replayed the footage, HOA president detained after confrontation with FBI agent. Neighbors who once feared Linda now waved gratefully at Reginald. Children rode bikes again without glances toward her house, its blinds drawn, her car gone. The HOA board met, stripped her title, and appointed a modest interim president. Eddie's record of petty crimes filled the news. Sean cooperated fully, admitting Linda had promised community enforcer pay. At a small park gathering, residents thanked Reginald. "You showed us that fear only works if we let it," a mother said. Reginald answered quietly, "Bullies thrive on silence. Truth ends their game." National morning shows looped the moment he displayed his badge, calling it a masterclass in calm authority. Reginald ignored the fame. What mattered was the neighborhood finally learning the difference between leadership and control. Chapter 8, The Lesson on the Lawn. A week later the street felt reborn, lawns trimmed, laughter back in the cul-de-sac. The HOA called a public meeting in the park. Families gathered as interim president Harold Jennings invited Reginald to speak. He stepped forward slowly. "We all saw what happens when power is faked," he said. "Authority isn't about titles. It's about service." Mrs. Henderson asked, "What do we do next time?" "Stand together," Reginald replied. "Silence feeds bullies. Truth stops them." Applause spread softly, then stronger. Marcus filmed again, this time capturing unity instead of conflict. That evening, Reginald returned home, the sunset glowing across his driveway, the same ground where fear had failed. He whispered, "The truth always comes to light," and rolled his trash can back inside. Because justice, he knew, isn't always a courtroom. Sometimes it's a quiet street that refuses to stay silent.